Hello and welcome to Recovery Survey, the podcast where we survey recovering addicts with different backgrounds, different lengths of clean time, and ask them questions about different recovery topics. Our guest today is Eoin from Ireland, and he's going to be talking about mental health in recovery. Welcome to the show, Eoin.
My name is Eoin D from Cork City, Ireland. My recovery clean date is the 30th of August 2011, and I'll share a little bit about mental health in recovery and how I got to recovery. A little bit about mental health in my past and not knowing I had it, it was always kind of clouded with addiction. So, like, a very brief of how I got to the rooms of recovery. I started using when I was 10, I finished when I was 27. Before I picked up, in hindsight, I can say it was full of anxiety. I was depressed. There was self-loathing, self-hatred, no self-worth. And I would have suffered with a lot of bullying. And so by the time I did find drugs, it helped, that's the only way I can describe it, to stop me thinking, to stop the voices in my head telling me you're better off dead, And I was suicidal since the age of 7. My earliest memory is sitting on my bed and wanting to, had the school tie around my neck and around my bed and wanting to jump. And I can remember hearing my mother come up the stairs, and that scared me, So there's always that suicidal ideation, the fantasy of wanting to die, So thank God for the years in recovery, and I've been blessed that I've had the opportunity in a safe manner to go back and visit and understand myself a little bit better, And my parents brought me to my local GP when I was about 11 because my behaviour was crazy. I was stealing, I was aggressive, and they were like, he needs to be put on some form of medication. And I'm grateful for my doctor, and he says, all that boy needs is to talk, and I could not talk. I didn't know how to articulate words or tell how at a young age do you tell your parents you want to die, So that was kind of my story of it. I just kept everything in, and to express myself just couldn't happen. I didn't know how, and it came out in anger, when it did. So look, I used drugs. I experiment with all sorts of chemicals, and what I put in my body doesn't really matter, and to get drugs. I stole, I robbed, people pleased. I took money from my parents to feed my friends' addictions, and like throughout the years, I've done so many terrible things, and it's just, I'm not even going to get into too much of that, I caused havoc, caused myself so much pain, and I destroyed my family. And I suppose where I really noticed my mental health break when I was sexually abused at 13, and again at 18/19. I can't remember the exact age, and I suppose that's where my addiction took off more than anything else, And I can remember just brain just switching to darkness on the floor. So there was lots of self-harm. And I'm able to talk like this now because I understand that I had mental health issues then, I was suffering with depression. I was suffering with PTSD. I didn't need a doctor to tell me what I was suffering with. I remember going to my GP, when I told him what happened, and wanting to get tablets. And he was just like, you need to talk, you need to get clean first, So I went to my first meeting at 21. I went to the fellowship of AA, and I spent 5 years of in and out relapsing, Couldn't deal with my head, with the pain. Yeah, so look, I'm going to talk a little bit now about my journey since I came to the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous, I got clean on the 30th of August 2011. I think it was a Tuesday morning, the first day clean. I remember the greatest fear I had was, how am I going to live with my feelings? How am I going to live with those dark thoughts? Because I got into psychosis, I was hearing things, and that made up stuff that goes on in people in addiction, that the stuff that we believe in. When I got clean, I was afraid, very much afraid of how I would turn out, Could I be a father to my daughter? Was I a danger to her? Was I going to kill myself? You know what I mean? And for a long time, I dismissed that I had any mental health issues in recovery. I just thought I was an addict and I was fine. And that I am an addict, and that everything was down to drug use. And if I just do my steps, I'll recover and I'll never have to deal with the mental illness. I suppose, like, I have many friends in recovery who suffer with depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, and I just kind of compared myself to that, that I'm fine. They've got real mental health. I suppose it's a bit of denial. I was in denial that there was other things going on, in the background. And how I maintained it, I suppose, and kept it at bay. The 12 steps, sponsorship, um, service within my home group, helping another addict, and being a part of my family. The sport that I was involved with, I got into rock climbing, and it built up my confidence, and I was always busy. So the more busy I was, the less time I had to connect into that stuff from the past, and that stuff that broke me. I've had a few different occasions where I could see the cracks coming. I suppose having night terrors a few years ago, the not sleeping, screaming, roaring in the night, and this is at like about 5 or 6 years clean, and thinking there's something wrong here, there's something not right. And I remember going to my GP and just saying, like, I'm fucked, give me tablets. I wasn't too keen on taking them. I just had so much stuff going on in my head that I wanted it to stop. And I speak to people in recovery, other friends of mine, and they say, you don't have any mental health issues, you're fine. You're just going through a bad patch. And I've lots of instances, that I could say that I was in trouble. But I'm going to just speak a little bit about the last 2 years, is where I got to see depression at its finest. I was in a 4 or 5 year relationship with a French girl, and this girl had her own issues. I would label it mental health, you know what I mean? And I tried to fix her, as a lot of people in recovery do, try to fix other people. Slowly I started getting really sad because I could see our relationship was breaking. It wasn't working. I've tried everything. So what happened to me? I broke. My self-worth came down. And I'm always very careful that I don't just label myself that I'm in a massive depressed state when life can just be just unfair for a little bit of time. Because if I say I'm depressed every day, it's not a good thing, because I'm not depressed every day. It comes in bouts, and I never liked that word. I suppose, like, where I'm from in Ireland, I don't know what it's like in the States, but here it was kind of shunned upon. No one really talked about it. Don't tell anyone. Don't speak about suicide. Don't speak about depression. And I'm grateful it's changing, but not much. So I didn't really tell most people. I just diminished the thoughts that I was depressed. I don't use the word depressed. I said I'm a bit low. So yeah, look, 2019, getting straight back into it, and I don't like wasting time talking about nonsense. That relationship ended 2019. I took myself out of it. And I had a workplace accident. I'm a rock climbing instructor. It was my life. I loved it. It brought me so much happiness and joy and purpose. And I ended up destroying my wrist, which ended my career. It ended my hobby. I couldn't do the sport I love to do. And I lost my job. I lost my wages. I lost my partner. Because I lost my job, I lost my car. I was living back home with my parents. I couldn't feed my daughter, not properly. So I had my ex-partner. Pressure. And what happened was my purpose was taken away, and I was left with myself, and the old demons that I suppressed with recovery, that I thought were dealt with. I used work and I used the sport to keep that stuff at bay, and unfortunately it was creeping in. And this is the sneaky thing about it. I didn't want to tell anyone how I really felt. And I'm a man who's involved in a 12-step program. I'm involved with a home group. I have sponsees. I'm guiding them through the steps. I'm involved with service at a national level. So I know all the right things to do. But I couldn't do it for myself because this thing wants me on my own. I have battle addiction and it wants you on your own. And then you have your mental health side of it and it just wants you on your own. So it was a battle. Getting into the summer of 2019, I got very bad. But I started to express myself to my parents a little bit and my sister. They could see it, I was like a walking zombie. I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating. All I was doing was pacing around the house. I had a massive court case because of the injury, so I had lots of pressure. And I was going into meetings and I wasn't being true, and I wasn't expressing myself correctly, letting people know because I had a certain amount of years in recovery, I shouldn't be like this. So that was the lies that my brain was feeding, that my disease was feeding me. It was telling me, don't talk about it, keep it to yourself. And that's where it wanted me. And as I said, my clean day was the 30th of August 2011. On the 26th of August, I had a rope from rock climbing. I had the noose ready and tied. And I was sitting in my bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and I was just in this daze, where I was going to do it, why I was going to do it. They're all better off. And I had just let those small voices, that used to be very loud when I was a kid, the same thing. I was worthless and get emotional thinking about it, because I can still feel it, because it's not that long ago. And just having this light bulb moment, I just snapped. It's like I came back into reality after 9 or 10 months. And it's like, what am I thinking? With this rope in my hand, I'm just like, what are you doing, man? I contacted my sponsor, and he's not a medical professional, and he said that to me, I'm not a medical professional. You're going to have to go do something about these thoughts and these thinkings, and there's certain stuff that the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous can't help me with, and so that was like, the first day we come into recovery and we say, I'm an addict and I'm powerless and I'm done. Please help me. I had to do that again. I had to do very deep surrender and walk into my home group and tell everyone when I was collecting my clean time tag, this is the way I'm feeling. I have depression. My own GP told me that, my own doctor, saying, you have depression. And it's no wonder you do. And I remember sitting down talking with my GP, what can we do? What are my options? I didn't want to go on medication. Just for the simple fact, I prefer not to. But I didn't diminish it. I said, okay, let me try a few things first, let me try talk this out. Let me try and do what I know best, I know how to talk and I know how to express. The program of Narcotics Anonymous taught me that. So that was my journey to the start of my recovery again. Accepting, that it's, I have depression. Talk openly about it and be comfortable with the fact that I have it. It doesn't define me. It's not like a scar or a burden I have to cross in. It's just something that I know I'm going to live with for the rest of my life. And I won't be there every day. I started to get relief. I was doing outside help with a crowd called Pieta House. They're amazing suicide prevention and intervention and bereavement counselling facility here in Ireland. They helped me, we got to work on a bit of stuff that I forgot about. It was never shown to me. It came at the right time and, they say in our literature more will be revealed and stuff was revealed and I've been on the process since then. And I can remember a very close friend of mine, he was 17 years clean, Big Dan, and he's schizophrenia. And he stopped taking his meds and he killed himself a few days before Christmas 2019. It's just that mental health and recovery stuff, we just don't know where people are at. And I lost a good friend, a very close friend that I loved early to this. And I suppose it just reaffirmed me that I have a lot of work to do. I'm not panicking over it, if I do a few simple things in recovery, I take care of my recovery. I attend meetings. I'm still involved with my service, I'm still involved with my family and my daughter. When my mental health is acting up, I talk to people who identify with it, who've been through it, I don't go and telling everyone, because we always get, we get mixed opinions from people that truly don't understand it. So I'm careful who I speak to, but I do speak. And then we ended up in this lovely pandemic. I suppose one thing I always wanted to do for myself since I got clean was walk the Camino de Santiago. So I'm out in Spain just before the shutdown happened, and it was the first time in all my life I felt serenity and peace, true peace, just being lost in the mountains, and that was cut short. Obviously, we had to leave the country and come home, and it's where I had to put my program, everything of knowledge into play. I came home from me walking in the mountains of Spain into like a prison cell, like my bedroom, and I had to stay there for 2 weeks on my own. And I had a bit of fear, I was like, what am I going to do? I'm on my own, just me in my head. How am I going to get through this, But I'm only one of millions of people who've had to go through what we're going through right now. Is my mental health playing up at the moment? A little bit. A little. Am I getting bouts of sadness? Yes. But it's not staying there for long, because I'm doing simple things. I'm on a podcast. I'm expressing myself right now, through a podcast, and sharing with other people where I'm at, and how I get through it. And we're 7-8 weeks kind of into this global pandemic at the moment, and kind of getting through it easy enough, if that is the correct way to see it. I'm working on my spirituality, lots of prayer, meditation, open discussion, mindfulness, looking at stuff that's online that can help me keep me connected, out taking walks, and connection, most important thing, mental health and recovery, is that connection to a higher power, to another human being. I hope I've made sense, whatever's after coming out is what's meant to come out today, It's an ongoing journey, no doubt about it. I've stuff coming to my door that I'm going to have to face in the future that scares me and frightens me. All around my abuse and stuff like that. And I'll be able to get through it, If I get depressed, if my mental health kicks up again, I know what I need to do. And I'm like, my story is my story. I haven't taken any medication to help me with my mental health, and that's the choice that myself and my doctor make. If my doctor suggests it, if things get bad, I'll follow his direction, because I'm not a medical profession, and I trust my doctor. So today I haven't had to take prescribed medication to get through what I had to get through. I done it with the program from the 12 steps with my sponsor, through open discussion. Carefully take care of myself through physical activity and well-being.
So, what advice would you give to someone that's in recovery that's also struggling with mental health?
First of all, don't let anyone else in recovery play God with you. You speak to medical professions. If you're going through a very hard time, get a few opinions from doctors. Don't just get one. And speak to people who have mental health, who have gone through similar processes as yourself. To define mental health, it's very different, Some people have schizophrenia, some people are bipolar, so everyone is different. Trust in the people who've been here and trust in the medical profession. There's some people in the rooms, they're not doctors, and they're only going off what they believe, not what they know. First and foremost, please talk. Make sure you talk to someone and let someone in before those voices get too loud. Because I know what those voices can do. They can be quiet. When they get loud, they get loud. And we're only one moment away from causing a world of pain to ourselves and our loved ones, so please talk.
Yeah, you made a great point there. In our basic text, it says we recommend turning our legal problems over to lawyers and our financial or medical problems to professionals. Part of learning how to live successfully is learning when we need help.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's too dangerous otherwise, And from my experience, I had guys telling me I didn't even have depression, And I've seen people tell people come off their medication, and when they did, they've relapsed, and they haven't come back. So just be mindful, whoever's listening, just be mindful, because at the end of the day, it's your life, and that's the most important thing.
Thank you again, Owen, for speaking to us about mental health and recovery. You have a very powerful story, and I think it's going to help a lot of people.
Thanks again for listening to Recovery Survey. If you enjoyed the episode, please consider leaving us a rating or a review, and please be sure to tell your friends about us. If you'd like to get in contact with us, we have a brand new website. It's recoverysurvey.com.
Until next time, I've been your host, Brett. Thanks for listening.